after the universe discovery has been revealed, Brian Cox, the cosmologist, astronomer, has a daunting claim. He says things can only get worse. Brian Cox claims things can only get worse for life on Earth after revealing how astronomers discovered that the sun is getting hotter and brighter by the day, which will lead to the end of our world in the future. We know that the sun's life is about 10 billion years. It's already half that. The sun is our star, our whole star in our solar system, an almost perfect sphere of hot plasma, and it produces the most important source of energy for our life. And it formed about 4.6 billion years ago from the gravitational collapse of matter within a region of large molecular clouds that initiated the nuclear fusion that we see today in the sun. The sun's currently fuses about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium every single second. It's converting 4 million tons of matter into energy every second as a result, which is a source of light and heat for life on Earth. But Brian Cox revealed in his two-part film, Life of the Universe, that he discovered that this will not be the case forever. This is what he said in that film in 2007. He said, "We all get used to the idea that we live in finite lives. Perhaps that's why we believe in leaving a legacy through our children and grandchildren. But what about the legacy of the eternal? Can you imagine taking the great achievements of our civilization and chiseling them out to granite to leave them behind as a record for the far future? Or do the laws of nature conspire to make that impossible? Or will all trace of our civilization one day vanish? And what will be our fate? And what is the ultimate fate of the universe?" So Professor Cox went on to explain why the idea of the world coming to an end was put forward by Isaac Newton in his second law of motion. He says there's a law of physics called the second law of further dynamics, and to paraphrase it means on a global scale across the universe, things can only get worse. In other words, so things tend to get more disordered when they tend to decay away. He said, "I was once involved in putting the opposite forward, that things can only get better," in reference to his part in Dream's 90s hit, but that's a gross violation of the second law of further dynamics, he says. He explains it should not have been allowed in the song lyrics, but I think songwriters should pay more attention to the fundamental physics, because we know that he was a singer at one point. He played in a band. Now, and then he became an astronomer. Professor Cox explains how this is applicable to the sun as well. He says the first stars in our universe began to shine about 100 million years after the Big Bang. It was another 9 billion years before our star, the sun, had formed. But our sun won't live forever, which will obviously have a direct impact on all life on our Earth. Professor of solar physics at the School of Mathematical Sciences in Monash, Paul Kelly, then gave his prediction on exactly when this will happen and what that would mean. He said the sun is about halfway through the phase where it's burning hydrogen. It's making helium, and it's got what's called the solar luminosity. It's putting out that much heat and light, but that is going to be slowly increasing. In about 1.1 billion years, it will be 10% brighter than it is now. That's enough to create a forced greenhouse. So life on Earth will become very problematic at that stage. 3.5 billion years from now, it will be 1.4 times its current luminosity, and that's enough to evaporate all the oceans. We've really got another 5 million years to go, he says. This is on Express UK. Callum Hoare reports this. This is, of course, physics, cosmology, the way of solar systems. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.